What is up, warriors, and welcome back to another video. Not a fun one this time. Actually, I'm not entirely sure why you've clicked on this video. I guess some of us are all kind of a little bit masochistic, but if you want to increase your level of suffering when it comes to stretching, I've got a few options for you. So in today's video, I'm going to cover 3 of the more grisly, kind of painful stretches that I use on a regular basis with myself and if I'm feeling mean, clients. Just for a disclaimer, pain is not the intention of this video. We're looking for a good stretch, and pain does not equal a good stretch. There is a difference between pain and the stretch reflex. There are, however, certain stretches that are just more uncomfortable than others. This could be due to personal restriction, just the nature of the stretches themselves. And there is usually a reason for this. And sometimes this can indicate the need just to actually train it a little bit. We need to just embrace the suck, get comfortable with being that little bit uncomfortable to make those gains in range of motion whatever it is that we're working on. Either way, give these a play, but progress slowly and carefully. So first up, we have the lateral hamstring glide. Now this one you may have seen in the most recent hamstring flexibility follow along, which I will link down below. I think that one caught a few people out. Stretching the hamstring at the best of times can be kind of an unpleasant endeavor, but this stretch in particular is just not particularly fun. And to be honest with you, regardless of your level of flexibility, this exercise doesn't get any better. This drill contains some elements of a nerve glide, which I'm going to go over in a future video about nerve glides. But for this drill, it's not necessarily the focus. Here, we're looking to target the lateral side of the hamstring, that outside of the hamstring, and also going up into the glutes, specifically the piriformis. The reason we're looking at this is because a lot of traditional times when we're stretching for the hamstrings, or if we're stretching for pancake, we're going to be focusing on the belly of the hamstring, the main amount of the hamstring, and that medial, that inside portion of the hamstring when we're doing things like the pancake, for example. So for this one, I recommend you test your pike, test your forward fold, give this drill a go, and then retest afterwards, see if you make any improvement. First, we have the easier option, and this one is easier just because it involves bending and straightening the leg. This is actually the one that was in that hamstring routine. For this one, we're going to start in a lunge position. We're going to walk the hands over across the front foot and make sure the hips are square. From here, simply try to keep that connection with your stomach on your thigh, push the hips back, and keep the opposite shoulder trying to reach towards that stretching leg. You're gonna feel that stretch here on the outside of the hamstring of the front leg. If this is a little bit too intense for you, you can elevate your hands onto an object or find a position that is comfortable in that straight position or comfortable-ish. We want to make sure that we go fully straight with the lockout, and then we pause for a second, and then we go back to the start. The second option is slightly harder, mainly because it involves having a straight leg all the time, and we're going to introduce a little bit of pulsing. So we're going to get set up in the same straight leg position that we would have been in the first stretch. You can have your support on the other side of the leg if you need to. We're going to twist into that hip, and we're going to think about reaching our opposite shoulder to that working leg. Instead, this time we're going to reach out with the hand in front of us, and by doing so, we're going to pull the working leg hip backwards. We're going to reach as far as we can, hold for a second, and then come back to a moderate, easy stretch position. This is one of our pulses. We just repeat this one and this one, trying to reach deeper and deeper into that stretch position. Both of these kind of do the same thing. It's just that one's a little bit more bearable than the other. I would suggest trying this for about 20 reps, again, with that 1 second pause in the stretch position, kind of moving in and out of a moderate stretch to an intense stretch. The second stretch we have is going to be looking at the hip flexors. Now, the hip flexors can be unpleasant to stretch anyway, just like the hamstrings. If we're sitting a lot all day, if we're doing some flex position exercise, such as doing cycling or running or just general quad gym work, we're gonna have tight quads, tight hip flexors that we might need to stretch out if that's what we want to develop. But I've got a little modification that's gonna kind of take things to the next level, and that is raising the arms overhead. So this is quite a nice and simple one that incorporates a little bit more spinal flexibility, back bending, just opening up that general anterior chain of fascia over the front of the body that often gets quite tight. And then here, we're gonna additionally stretch over the abdomen and also help expand the rib cage, a little bit of shoulder work. It kind of hits everything in one stretch. It is the opposite stretch to the position that most people spend their days in, myself included. This one, very simple. Just give this a try. Get into a hip flexor stretch. It could be a basic lunge. It could be something else. And simply the easiest variation, we're gonna go into the stretch and we're gonna raise the same side as we're working, that arm straight overhead. You can use the other arm to assist, hold it where you are, and just hold that position. When we're in this position, it's very important that we just work on our breathing. As we breathe in, expanding the rib cage, and then as we breathe out, we want to let that rib cage contract. Should feel nice and stable. If you can't breathe, maybe pushing this one a little bit too far. If this is easy, you want some more suffering, all you're gonna do is lift both arms overhead. Again, this one can be done in pretty much any stretch and it's gonna feel kind of intense. But we're not done there. Some pretty awesome bang for our buck for opening up that hip flexor for things like front split, for bridge, for other things. Then we can add a simple back bend to this movement as well. So whatever hip flexor stretch we're in, we're also going to try and bend backwards into that position. Again, this is where it becomes extra important to make sure that glute is engaged, stabilizing the hip, stabilizing the back. For extra brownie points, if we want to take things up another notch, we can straighten that front leg so we get into a sort of front split position, and again, perform the same thing. And we can perform this one for reps if we want to, where we start from a more neutral position, we back bend into something deeper, or we can hold for time, both of which not particularly fun. If the hip flexor is an issue for you with your front split or bridge, which quite commonly is the case, I suggest giving this one a go. Test your front split, test your bridge, do this drill for a couple of sets, go back to it. Has it improved? Let me know in the comment section down below. Finally, we have an old channel favorite, and that is the pissing dog. This is an active flexibility drill specifically designed to help you develop your middle splits, if that's an avenue you want to go down. This drill was introduced to me by the main man, Emmett Lewis, when I went to visit him, and something I've been using with myself and clients in various different forms to develop the middle splits, and it is very, very effective. It works by targeting the glute, in particular, that extreme abducted position, opening up the hips maximally by working the glute in that end range. Expect cramping. You're gonna get some cramping. This isn't the sort of cramping due to electrolytes or that sort of thing. This is more a muscle confusion type of cramping. The body just doesn't know how to contract in this position, so it tries to contract everything at once. Therefore, we get the cramp. The best way to get rid of this cramp is to do it more and try to contract harder. Basically embrace the suck on this one. The easier progression is gonna be the bent leg position. So starting in that quadruped position, making sure that we're maintaining quite a nice neutral position throughout our spine. Those hips should be neutral. We want minimal tilting, or that is certainly the goal. We're just gonna try and lift that knee as high as we can, opening up the hips, like we're a dog taking a piss. We can just hold that position. It is important here to make sure that we keep the foot below the knee. This is going to ensure that we have adequate external rotation, an important thing for middle splits later on. And again, it increases the suffering. If you can do this one, if you can raise the knee pretty high, we can try the more advanced variation, which is straightening the leg. This is just going to increase that lever length. It's going to make things harder. We can perform this one for anywhere between 3 to 6 repetitions, and we're gonna hold it for 5 to 10 seconds on each of those repetitions. This one is not super fun, but again, just like the other 2 stretches in this video, there is some very effective results. So I suggest what you do is you give your middle splits a go. You do this drill, you give your middle splits a go afterwards, see how it feels. Equally, this could improve things like the Cossack and potentially the pancake as well. But that is basically it for the suffering this week. I just thought this video would be a fun one to make. I was having some conversations with some friends and some other fellow coaches, and we were discussing things that weren't particularly pleasant, but are very useful to do. So let me know how you get on with this one. As I said, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you just enjoyed this video, you can hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. Right next to it as well is that subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior Tribe. And finally, if you want to support me over on Patreon, support what I'm doing here on this YouTube channel, giving out all this information for free, link to that is in the description down below. But that's basically been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and